Welcome back to Stick to Fitness, brought to you by myself and my co-host Archie. And for today's topic of discussion, we're going to be comparing or talking about what makes a good online coach, or any coach for that matter. So what do you think?
What I was going to ask you, what's your one key thing that you think to be a good online coach? You have to have this. You have to have it.
One thing.
Yeah. So as I'm doing this more,
Yeah.
I'll say you need to have empathy, because you have to be able to understand where that person's coming from, and what is a struggle to them may not be a struggle to you. But trying to get your head around how that could be affecting that person from any point of view, whether that be for training, nutrition, and when you're dealing with people who work a normal job, I say normal job, who's not a personal trainer, dealing with their emotions at work and then having to transfer that over to training and then train at different times of the day, and then it can just all get too much for some people. Whereas someone like me, if you tell me to do something, I'm just going to do it. And just because I think in that way doesn't mean that everyone else that I work with then has to think that way. But what's your one trait that they need to have?
I think you have to have a real desire and get a real kick out of helping people. I think that's probably the one trait that I would say to be, because if your whole behaviors and your whole goal is to genuinely help people out, right? You're going to find the answer. Even if you kind of fuck it up, you get it wrong, you're going to try to improve. You're going to course correct, and you're trying not to be shit,
basically.
And and you're going to keep learning, right? You're going to keep trying to improve. You're going to do whatever it takes to help your client get the result that they can, right?
I think that point that you made about always learning is really important, because I think sometimes we as humans think we know everything, and really there's always new information that you could take and that will make you better. So then applying that to your different clients that you're working with, and also being brave enough to try new stuff and not just saying, like, for example, well, I train to failure, so my client who's never trained before should also train to failure. And knowing that there's different ways for that person to achieve their goal, whether that be fat loss or gain muscle or just even like general confidence, doesn't have to be the way that you prefer. And it's more so working around the client rather than what you would do.
I think that's a big one, right? It's personal bias. It's like we all have things that we like, right? We all have personal biases, and things that we like work for us and what attracts to us. But what makes us tick is very different to what may potentially make your client tick, and what may potentially be really beneficial for them.
And I first found that a bit difficult when doing when people ask for like meal plans, right? So you make a meal plan that's full of like things that you eat, and then you send it to them. They're like, well, I don't eat that, I don't like that, I don't like that. And you're like, oh, for God's sake, yeah. Well, I remember I was working with one client, and she was like, I don't like chicken. I couldn't get my head around it. How can you not like chicken? What was I going to do for a meal plan with no chicken?
Was she vegan?
No, she wasn't a vegan. She just doesn't like chicken.
Right, okay.
So then you're talking about, well, no, I really have to be a little bit like creative here, because
there's no other food other than chicken.
Yeah, there's no other food.
Is that, do you like eggs?
Yeah.
Do you like a little bit of the chicken?
Whitefish? Yeah. Chicken thighs? Chicken wings? So, yeah, that was... But I think the more that you do it, the more...
You must have been really stuck there.
Not really stuck, but I would, generally you would think, if you're going to make a meal plan, like if I was going to make, like, say, for example, you're making a five meals plan, yeah? So your meal plan's got five sets of meals in it. At least two are going to be chicken.
Okay. Yeah, probably for myself.
Yeah.
Because it's easy, right?
Yeah, easy.
But yeah, if they're vegan, then no.
No, but then that's when you need to start exploring more and then seeing different things. And I guess that can, at first, that is difficult.
I think it's quite common, quite a lot of people don't like chicken.
Really?
Yeah, just because they've had a coach, especially those who've had a coach before, that has just been giving them chicken. They're like, nah, ain't no chicken, bro.
But I think also even being open to the fact where it's like macros or a meal plan, like I guess it's easier to work with clients who just want macros.
I mean, it's easy for you in terms of like you don't have to fucking do shit, right?
You just say, here's your macros.
Numbers.
Yeah,
go do it.
Week 2 passes, right? Subtract 10 from there, subtract 20 from there.
Easy money, right? But I don't necessarily think it's the best thing to do. Like, what are you really giving them? They can do the maths. You know, they don't need you.
We're giving them accountability, though. I guess, isn't it? I guess that's another.
What accountability to what? To numbers?
Yeah, to make sure that they're hitting them. Whether that be for gaining,
but I think that's that's the thing, right? To get to that point where you can properly track macros correctly and to get the most out of that method, there comes a lot of learning. You had to do the meal plans, you had to do the eating of the actual food to do that. But then a lot of people skip that now. We just go straight, let me just teach my client macros because I've been doing that.
Yeah.
But then the client's then going, oh, right, okay, meal 1 Skittles.
Yeah.
Meal
Pop-Tarts,
2. You know,
that was the famous one.
Yeah, that was a good one. I need to I might have a protein shake. And then I have, Rice Krispie Squares because post-workout, right?
I always eat Rice Krispie Squares.
So then that person's nutrition is horrendous, right? Yes, they've stuck to their macros and potentially, they will lose weight, but they're still, if they are not fitness people, if they're not like, they're just Gen Pop, right?
Yeah.
Average human, right? They're not going to want to stick to that diet for like they're not going to stick to that restriction of calories, right?
Yeah, it's not sustainable, is it?
Because they're hungry. Whereas maybe if you ate, a few Skittles and whatnot, and you're hungry, you're like, yeah, but I still want to get shredded, so I'm not gonna eat too many Skittles.
Just have a handful.
Yeah, but
half the bag.
Yeah, but then a client that is just your average person, your normal, they'd be like, okay, well, you had 1 Skittle, I want to have like 20.
Well, what's one more Skittle?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But when you have one more 100 times. But I guess that's then where the education side from your coach comes in, isn't it? So
yeah, but I don't think people spend long enough educating. I've seen people that give, use MyFitnessPal, but they don't even look at your MyFitnessPal.
I love doing like, especially if I get someone new that's like a complete beginner, I love doing like a 2-week like. So it's like before you start, whatever. So you say, right, for the next 2 weeks, send me photos of what you're eating.
Yeah.
Track what you think it is in MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
And then you see what they put in, then you're looking at it and you're like, my friend, this is like 300 grams of rice. And you've inputted like 100 grams.
Yeah.
And then you see like the amount of sauce and then things that are being added to it. Or even like things that people don't think about, like a pint of orange juice. Like, we didn't input your pint of orange juice onto MyFitnessPal. Why did you not do that?
See, and
it's like, well, it's not.
Problem.
It's a liquid. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but it's like 200 calories.
That is a problem, right? Because people don't actually know how to track their calories properly.
Yeah, well, people don't.
And they use MyFitnessPal, but then it's like, oh, you've not really input. Like, if you're not taking the scales out with you, how much do you really know how much you're eating, right? So it's going to be a guess.
I always take my scales.
Yeah, okay. Drug dealer. But you're not going to know exactly how much that you're actually having. So therefore, you're going to be guessing. So the calories are going to be a little bit inaccurate there. And then there's so many options. People picking random shit. It's like, oh, this one's low. I'm going to pick this one. And it's like, I've had whole pizza, right? Calories.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
I think that's why it is having that initial phase beforehand.
Yeah.
So you can kind of understand what it is that is almost preempt the problems that are going to be coming.
But is that not longer to do than to be like, hey, let's jump on this meal plan first. Let me teach you how to eat properly, and then we can.
Yeah, definitely. But still, even with a meal plan, though, when you're talking about weighing things out and having that accuracy,
but there's more structure.
There's definitely more structure,
and that's what a lot of people I think need.
But then it also doesn't allow for flexibility as much.
But if you do it in a specific way where they can have options, so if you didn't want to eat this, you can eat this instead. You can eat this instead.
Yeah,
and then they can make those swaps.
But I think that's where a good online coach is someone that's again going to be readily available to support with that. So,
Because
you might have prepped your meals for like a Friday at work, for example, but then actually people are going out after work and you don't want to miss out on that. And you also don't want to be sat at the table with your work colleagues eating your Tupperware. So then messaging your coach and saying, right, this is what's happened, what is the next best thing? And then having that conversation together about how you can still achieve your goal while still not giving up on that aspect of your life. So having that, I think relationships with your coach is important as well.
Yeah. Because even with MyFitnessPal, there is flaws to it, right?
Definitely.
Just like, in the meal plan, you're saying you don't have as much flexibility. Cool, but you can incorporate and make it more flexible. But with MyFitnessPal, it's like you can have too much flexibility. That people don't know how to fill those calories. They don't really have the structure. It's a free-for-all in terms of numbers, right? And you can put the numbers so there's no structure to it.
Yeah, I mean, I got
really
quite obsessed with MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
Like you're talking something crazy, like a 4,000-day streak over the course of however many years.
But then you still probably had some degree of structure to it. You knew that every meal I need to have some sort of protein. I need to eat some like carbohydrates.
Yeah, I would still just be eating, but then I would guesstimate what it was that if I was eating out, for example, I'd guesstimate.
You don't necessarily hack it, like in terms of be like, if I don't eat this many calories, I can have this Whopper meal.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that as well.
There's occasions, but you're not doing it regularly.
No, not regularly, no, because then
but I think a lot of people do that, right?
Saving your calories?
Yeah, because they genuinely want to eat that kind of stuff all the time because they have no concept of how to eat.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think at the minute, the way that we are living is that everything we eat is grab and go. Everything's on the move. How many times do people actually sit down and eat their meal? Like, you should.
I think a lot of people don't even eat really. They just don't eat. Like,
no, they don't eat. So they'll just have like snacks and then
food.
just it's dinner time now.
Yeah, smash.
What am I having?
Pizza.
Yeah. But I think that's a bigger problem. And can an online coach fix that?
Yeah, you can fix that through the way that you would.
So how would you go about working with someone whose lifestyle is set up in that way, where it's like wake up, cup of coffee, maybe like a little protein bar, not eat, lunch is like a Tesco meal deal, dinner time, smash back whatever, before bed protein shake. How would you?
That's not actually too bad though.
I mean, it's not bad. It is bad if you want them to achieve fat loss.
A fat loss is still achieved by total calories throughout the day, right? So
yes. How would you go about fixing that then?
Gradually change kind of each of those meals. So in the morning, it's probably not too bad having a coffee and protein bar.
Protein bar, yeah.
But you could potentially change that to what kind of coffee you're having. Is it just black coffee? Is it like latte?
Changes.
Yeah. So you might make some changes to what type of.
Like Americano.
Yeah. You might change it to like a black coffee or whatever, right? So then I don't really know the names of these coffees, by the way. I don't drink any caffeine.
Yeah, caffeine free.
Americano is a black one.
You're
right?
A caffeine vegan.
Yeah. Is
the Americano is just black with hot water? Yeah.
Yeah.
Espresso hot water.
Why can't they call it black coffee? Why the fuck do they have to call it Americano?
Well, in America they call it a black coffee.
But in the UK we call it Americano.
Yeah.
God. See, this is what I mean. I could just call it black coffee.
Yeah. So go on then. So they have that change. So
Okay,
those small changes.
And then
the meal deal.
next, do you look at the meal bill? How big is this meal? What are they having with the meal bill?
So a meal deal, sandwich, a snack, and a drink.
But what's a snack? Is it crisps? Crisps is going to be different to having, let's say, a piece of fruit.
I don't think fruit's in the meal deal.
No?
No.
Nah,
it's not.
You're gassing. Even McDonald's has got fucking
fruit. Is not in Tesco meal deal.
I don't believe it.
It's not.
No?
No, it's either crisps.
You can get protein yogurt. Now you can get fruit, man. You're lying to me.
A fruit bag?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean a piece of fruit?
Little fruit bag thing.
I don't know if fruit bags in there.
I think you can, man.
We'll have to look into them.
Let us know if you get Tesco's meal deals.
But obviously, meal deal one I can see because then you can just pick the lower calorie sandwich, lower calorie snack, and a bottle of water.
Yeah, or like a Diet Coke or something. Yeah. And then for dinner, maybe again making those small changes initially first.
Yeah.
And then gradually moving them towards a better structure, right?
Yeah, it's funny you said about the coffee thing because I was working, or still am working with someone who, for the first 2 weeks, wasn't much progress being had, right? Mm. And I said, I want you to send me everything that enters your mouth today. Because if you're sticking to this, there's no reason why you're maintaining / kind of gaining. My man was having two Costa large lattes a day. Yeah, so latte is a milk-based coffee, if you don't know.
I know latte.
Yeah, large one, it's like 250, 300 calories.
Big things.
Yeah, so you're adding near 500-600 calories a day through coffee.
Yeah.
And he was having that 2 a day.
2 a day.
From Costa, yeah.
That's a G.
Yeah, he's a serious coffee drinker. I did the same thing. I said, maybe try an Americano. Yeah. Well, first of all, we went down to 1. And then we went down to Americano. And then it was like a lot. Then it was no coffee. And then it was a latte every like 3 days sort of thing.
Then you get him on the monsters.
Yeah. Love a monster.
Then boom. Yeah.
And then we make some serious gains.
That's exactly it.
But yeah, it's things like that. That's why I think another one which was quite interesting, was I can't remember who it was. I was listening to someone talking about it, and they said they had a client, right, and she was a single mum, and she had a meal plan, sticking to the meal plan 100%, no progress after like 2, 3, 4 weeks or something. So again, kind of the same thing. Said, what's going wrong here? Because something, you should be in a deficit. So he said, he asked her the question, said, what does your baby eat? Baby must be like 1 or 2 or something. It's like, just eats like things that babies would eat. Toast, maybe a little pizza. Like solid foods. Yeah. And he said, do you eat any of the foods? And
finishes off, innit?
Finishes it off.
Yeah.
So she said, I finish off all the food that my baby doesn't eat.
Yeah.
Which over the course of a day, over the course of a week.
That's where parents get the most of their calories from.
Is a lot of calories. And I thought that was really interesting at the time. Because,
you know when people do the peanut butter thing?
Yeah, lick the spoon. Yeah.
Mate, that's where all your calories are coming from.
But over the course of time, that's a lot of extra calories.
Yeah.
That
people don't track that.
Yeah, they don't think about it.
That's a tracking error.
But if you're, that's.
And that's where, you as a coach, you have to be very sharp. So like I had a client where, she had a tea, right? And I was like, lemon tea, Straight away I'm like, what's in the tea? Oh, I'll put honey in it. Yeah, well, you gotta tell me that, right? Because it's got calories in it. But people don't realise that, right? And I think as a coach, you have to be very, very sharp.
I think that's what separates a mediocre online coach from the best of the best.
But that's when people think, oh, well, my client's eating, I can't take them any lower in terms of calories. They're on 1,200 calories already. Yeah, but your client's also putting honey in their tea that they didn't tell you that they're doing. And they're doing that 5-6 times a day. They're having 100, 200 calories extra that they're not telling you about. So you think they're eating 1,200 calories. You think that they're too low.
Or they're having like a pack of polos.
That's what I mean. And they're actually having way more calories than you think that they are. Yeah. If they're not losing weight, that probably is the reason why. And it's coming from somewhere, whether they know it or not.
Measurement error as well. I think being clear with your client about whether you want this food weighed out, raw or cooked as well.
For sure.
So I kind of seen that happen as well over a period of time. Where it's like, well, I want you to have 100 grams of rice, and you're talking like cooked.
Yeah.
But then they're measuring out 100 grams of uncooked rice. It's like 300 grams.
Have you had those ones where, somebody that I used to work with, they said they put raw chicken weight or whatever, right? It's 100 grams. The person was eating raw chicken.
Oh?
Yeah.
No way.
Thought it was.
That was part of the meal plan, raw chicken.
Like, obviously you give the raw weight, right?
Yeah, but they ate it raw.
They ate raw.
That's their problem, man.
That's mad, isn't it?
You can't be that stupid.
I don't know, but it happened. And people were doing that. Like, another person I saw was raw potatoes. They said,
oh my god.
Raw weight.
But that's what, okay, clarity is also very important then as an online coach.
That's mad though, isn't it? But like, they're not doing nothing wrong. They're doing what you said. That's a good client there.
Yeah, that's what you want, isn't it?
Good client.
That's me.
That's a good client.
You tell me what to do, I'm doing it.
I'm getting a bit of a stomachache. I'm really eating this raw chicken. Raw chicken. Sure this is the way I need to do it?
I wouldn't even tell you I'm getting an upset stomach because I wouldn't want to show you any weakness.
That's a good client.
I wouldn't even tell you. I'd be suffering.
Up 20 weeks later, absolutely shredded. So how's your diet been?
Yeah.
Other than I don't really like eating the raw chicken, but I had to do it.
I had to do it. Had to do it for these games. Definitely. So accountability, empathy, having a good eye.
I think we were talking about constantly learning. Integrity, I think, is a big one. To be like, look, not selling out to quick things.
Yeah. Do you think you have to be in good shape? Do you think you've had to have been in shape?
I think so. I think that's a big part of, we were talking about empathy, right?
Yeah.
How can you have empathy if you've never done it before?
True. Mm-hmm.
You never had it. You never experienced it. So there is no empathy.
That's true.
I never had zero empathy in the beginning. I think
same.
I didn't. Yeah, that was before I'd done it, right? And when I did it myself, I still didn't have any empathy because I did it a certain way. I was robotic.
Yeah, I couldn't ever get my head around the fact that someone would say, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to do this. And it's like, what do you mean you don't want to do this? I'm telling you to do this, just do it.
Yeah, but
Like, if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Yeah, as you get older, you start to realise, actually, people have other lives. They're not. We only see it through the eyes of the fitness industry bubble, right? Which we all sit in, and it's like, oh, you should just be able to do this. It's like, no, well, other people fucking have a life. When you've not been overweight your whole life, it's fucking different animal, right? Like I said, people's hungers are very different, and their habits and behaviours are very different. So, you can't expect to think the way that you would go about it is going to be exactly the same as the way.
I think that's why everyone's goals is different as well, though. So being really clear with your client about what their goals are, and you're not picking the goal for the client. Because I think I've seen a couple of times where the coach is kind of wants the client to compete, but they have no desire to compete. It's only going to end one way then. It's going to end with them having a bad relationship with the process, a bad relationship with competing, and possibly a bad relationship with the coach as well.
It comes down to choice, right? So you have to give the client all the decision making, all the pros and all the cons.
Yeah.
So because they may come to you and say that I do want to compete. I spend a lot of time convincing people that they don't.
Really?
Yeah, because even though I love bodybuilding, but I know what it entails. I know what is difficult. And if I've been working with this client for a while and I don't feel like he's probably the best, I'll tell them, like, these are all the negatives. All the stuff that you dislike about dieting, fucking increase that by 20%, 50% more.
But would they possibly not change that knowing that there's...
Maybe, but then you tell them, right?
Yeah.
You give them, you sell it.
But you don't know unless you try them,
You
right?
tell them the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And let them decide. If someone can take the cons of it, then go ahead and do it. But if you can't take the cons and you're just looking at the pros, I don't necessarily think that you should do it, because
True.
you have to look at what is the worst case scenario here that could potentially happen for you. And if you can handle the worst case scenarios, then yeah, great.
Well, I guess for some people that like work and stuff would be worst case scenario is you can't perform at your job and then you end up losing your job. Imagine losing your job because you wanted to step on stage in a thong and be tan.
I mean,
I would take it.
Yeah.
If that was the goal.
That's mad.
There's no deviating.
And then people break up with partners, relationships, all that stuff all the time.
Yeah, but
during preps.
I think that. So I think part of being a good online coach is dealing with almost not like a counsellor, but
yeah,
I think you get a lot of people that
it's like the unwritten rule of part of the job, right?
Where you have to listen to their problems as well, and that's why I said empathy about that as well, because if it is affecting relationships and things like this, then I guess it kind of puts you in a position as well, doesn't it? Where it's like, I want to keep this client because at the end of the day they're paying you. You're providing a service, they're going to pay you, but if it's making them that unhappy and it's affecting their relationships, well, at what point are you then like, actually this isn't right because it's not right for them, and it's affecting their relationship, work-life balance, their social circle, and I guess having the balls to be like, actually we got to stop this because this is, yes, you're paying me, but this is not going where you want it to go. Would you ever think about doing something like that? Or?
Absolutely. I always tell people that. I told you that, no? In terms of like, I think in terms of mood and whatever, right? Because people always like, oh, I get really moody when I'm dieting. I was like, yeah, but it's your choice,
Yeah, it's always your choice.
So that's I always make it clear, like, these are the things that you need to look out for. And like, if you're in a relationship, you need to spend time with the person. Because it's a very selfish endeavor when you're like trying to get absolutely shredded, right? So yeah, those. But that's like really to the extreme side of things, right? But yeah, another reason, like, that's why you have to, you should be in shape yourself, like at least tried it, right?
Yeah,
because these are the things that you need to learn how to experience. So because I've dieted, I know what it feels like to be very, very tired. I know what it feels like to, be constipated, or people think that you are constipated because you haven't gone to the toilet for a couple of days when you're extremely low body fat. That's normal, right? All the things that people may not have ever encountered before. If you encounter it, then you can preempt it, right? And be like,
have a plan for it.
You need to think about this. This is something that you also, and when it doesn't come as such a shock and it's normalized, it's like, oh, well, I knew that I was going to be hungry.
Yeah,
I knew that I was maybe going to be a little bit lightheaded, right, and pass out. I knew that.
I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that.
I'd never experienced that, so I had no idea. But yeah, when you know those things, you know how to kind of combat it. You know about the sleep, right? And it makes it a bit easier, because then you're not only telling someone what to do, but you're sharing personal experience with someone. I think that personal experience makes a big difference to clients. You know, when they're going through a process that they've never been through before, no one else around them's been through that process either. So they got no one to relate to. They got no one to share that with. You're that one person that's going to be able to share that with them.
Yeah.
To
confide in them.
Yeah, to allow them to be able to keep going, to be like, this is all normal. People are going to say this, they're going to say that, and it's all normal, right? So then they're like, okay, cool, I get it, right? But if you've never been through it and you're just like, no, just do it.
Just get on with it.
Yeah, get on with it. What's wrong with you? Why are you feeling hungry?
Yeah.
Well, you've never fucking died before, have you then?
Yep,
That's
true.
So I think practicing what you preach is not just in terms of, looking the part, but it's about the experience of it. And then when you also look the part, as a coach, the confidence is massive, right? If you look the part and you've done it before, you're very sure on what you...
It comes out of confidence, isn't it, I guess, as well.
You just know. Like, I know, I've been through it so many times, I know what it feels like to be lean. And if this person's like way too happy, something's not right.
You're not lean enough.
Yeah, you're not sticking to the diet as much, you're not in as big of a deficit. So already, I'm like, ears up. I know, okay, what's happening here? Maybe I need to drop this guy's calories more. Maybe I need to think about what's going on.
Yeah.
Why is this person, what's happening?
Why is this happening?
Where the potential downfalls before it occurs, so I can game plan for it.
Definitely.
So I think that's a big one. Is there anything else that you think that you would like to see from an online coach?
From an online coach? I mean, I was going to ask you, how important is so obviously there's always this debate about Google Sheets versus a sort of fitness app. I said, so how important, so if you're a coach that uses Google Sheets, for example, are you any less of a coach as compared to someone that has an app? Or
I don't necessarily think so. I think it's all dependent on, it's just a delivery method, right? So whatever you're looking at however you're going to deliver your message, it's like, should I respond to someone via email or WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Up to you, man. Like, however you want to speak to that person.
However your client best responds, I guess.
Yeah, it depends on who your client is, right? If they are, if they like G Sheets and maybe the way that you program requires a lot more intricacies and customization, maybe G Sheets is the way, right? If you are a coach who, your clients just want to use an app and it's easier for them, and they're like, it's clunky, right? G Sheets on your phone in a session versus, an app, it just auto-populates what I should lift. Easy. They might prefer that. I find Gen Pop like apps more.
Okay.
I personally don't really like apps for coaching myself, like to learn, like to be able to look at all the information, but I have to make do with it because that's what my clients want in terms of being in the gym, right? And I totally get that because I would not use G Sheets in the gym.
Would you not?
Nah, I would rather write in a notebook and then transfer. Yeah, I just can't hate it. It's so small. And you can't
get a bigger phone. Get the iPad out.
It's not convenient, man.
Nah, I'm a big G Sheets fan.
Yeah, I like G Sheets in general, but like, and I still use it in terms of like the clients put their data into the app, and I'll take that data and I'll put it into my the G Sheets myself, so I can see it all as a better overview. But yeah, I don't Yeah, I don't like it in the gym really, personally. I wouldn't
Interesting.
Like to use it, yeah.
Do you even track anymore?
Not really. I do track in terms of I use an app. I've been trying out the RP hypertrophy app. So I've been trying that out. I've been learning some of their stuff. So I thought, let me just see what their algorithm is saying. You know, how do they kind of do their progressions and whatnot. So I've been doing a little bit of reps and reserve stuff, learning more about that. So this is where we go into learning a bit more. So I've been trying that out. Seeing what the pros and the cons are. So you got to experience it, right? So like I say, this is part of it. It's not just about like, you know, everyone just looks at the research. So it's not good. You have to train to failure. Have you tried training reps and reserve? If you haven't, you're not in a position to, you know, comment on it yet.
Yeah,
I think so. That's why I'm doing it, and not just doing it for a week. Like, do it.
A long period.
I've been doing it for about 5 months now. Yeah. So I've been trying it out.
Say your legs are like they're about to come out your jeans.
Yeah, I mean that's always going to be the case whether I train to failure or never train at all. So there's no real differences there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I think, you know, that's part of practicing what you preach. It's not just about how you look, but also the things that you're doing as well. You got to try different things. You have to try everything. Right? Do the shit, do the good, and then you can. You know, it's like what Bruce Lee says, right? You got to try everything and be water. You gotta be water, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's it. So that's the way I see it. And I think in terms of, what do you think of, you know, when people say that you should want it more than your client? What do you think of that? That soundbite.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Why not?
Because that's when that leads to frustration, leads to breakdown, possibly in relationship. And how can you might want something, you want your client to do well, but ultimately you're not in a position to control what it is that they do. So again, if I relate that back to teaching, you're teaching these kids, you want them all to do well, but they at some point they got to want to do it for themselves. They got to want to do the homework. They got to want to do the revision. Yeah. They got to want to do the extra classes. They got to want to do it. And with your clients, it's the same thing. You're not in control of what they do. You can give them the best support, the best access, the best training app, the best Google Sheets, the best support. But they're not going to execute it, then you're just going to get frustrated. And I think you have to have not like be detached from them from that aspect, but there has to be a point where you're like,
you almost don't care, right? But it's not.
But you have to have a point where it's like, I can at any point I can step away from this, knowing that I've done everything that I can to help this person. And if you've done that, then I think it's an easier pill to swallow. But I think when people get more annoyed is because maybe it's a bit like, well, I probably could have helped them. I could have done a bit more. Whereas, like, you know, if you're a good coach, you've exhausted everything that you could have to try and support this person, and ultimately they just couldn't access it. They couldn't do it. And what do you think?
I think it's almost like you have to kind of be like, I think people misuse the word want versus effort. So like, you shouldn't necessarily care more than your clients because it's their goal.
Yeah,
it's they need to take ownership of it. Doesn't mean that you don't care. Like, it's not like just because I say that I don't care doesn't mean that I'm not putting 100% effort in. You can still not care and put in tons of effort. You know, I can still give you everything that I think is possible, but you have to care about your goals more than I care about your
massively,
goals, because it's your goals, right? It has to come from you. You want it, right? And I think a lot of people always say, "Oh, I want it. Well, I care more about my clients' goals than they do." That's a fucking problem.
That is a problem.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't think you should care more than your clients do about their own goals, but don't mistake care with, you know, effort. You should still be putting, you know, you may be putting more effort in than they do, but they should always be caring about their goals.
Yeah, definitely
more, in my opinion. And then the other side of, I think, what I'd like to see from an online coach is, we always call it like a professional friend. So you've got two sides of it. You've got the professionalism, and then you got the friend. And sometimes people skew the lines a little bit too much towards
too friendly.
Yeah, too friendly, and then they don't really get the results. And then there's the other people who are maybe too professional, and then they lose out on the being the personal side of personal training, I guess. What do you think of that?
It's kind of like what happened with me and you. That's why I never reached my goal. No, I'm joking. I think it's definitely a thin line. I think that's where that's where then, especially when people start sharing their personal problems and stuff with you, I think that's when it can get a little bit more complicated, because it's not just talking about training now. You're talking about this person's like potential like mental state of all these problems they're having in their life, but
it's all part of it, right?
Yeah, it is, but by default, and then by default you have to be somewhat, and I guess that comes with experience, is be somewhat equipped as to how to respond to those problems.
It's mad, isn't it?
And you might not necessarily have the answers,
because we all think like, okay, we get into this whole coaching business because I just want to talk about nutrition and training, but in order for that person to stick to their nutrition and training, you gotta be able to touch on all the other stuff, right? Why are they not able to stick to it? They're not able to stick to it because of all the other external factors. So you have to kind of be able to deal with those kind of things. You gotta have the empathy. You gotta, and it comes with age. I think as you get older as well.
Yeah, definitely. The more you do it, the easier that side of the job becomes.
For sure. So yeah, I don't really think there's a closing question to this.
It's not so much a closing question. I think we covered, we need to be accountable, empathetic, have a good sort of knowledge, and be willing to accept that you don't know everything, and continuously learning.
Removing like personal bias.
Yeah, personal bias, having that barrier between professionalism and a friend. Come with that. I think just to add to that point as well, when you see people post, like say like a PT post that says, "Oh yeah, my client and now friend like person," and I always look at that and think, if they stop paying you, they wouldn't be. You wouldn't coach them for free. They're not really your friend then, are they? You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
They're not really your friend.
I'll still charge my friends, though.
I think you have to. That's where accountability comes from, and then professionalism standards as well. Because you're still offering a service.
I think it's important.
I think it's important I think it's more so important for the person, like the client, because then it's like, if you do something for free, then it's like, I might not stick to it because
it's free.
It's free. But even if you're paying something,
it makes a difference, right?
Massive difference. So yeah.
But yeah, I hope you found our discussion on online coaching interesting. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure that you drop a like if you're watching this, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And you can find me at Gym With Him on Instagram, and my co-host is at Archie13 with 2 E's. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.
I should change my Instagram name, man.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Gym with Arch.
Gym with Arch. Archie fitness influencer.